We're going to begin this hour with a behind-the-scenes look at the new historical epic film. It's called The Woman King. The action film starring Viola Davis and John Boyega topped the box office earlier this month, becoming just the second film directed by a black woman ever to open at #1. You go, Gina. Anthony Mason met up with that director. That would be Gina Prince-Bythewood at Noya House Workspace and in her Los Angeles office, where Anthony got to sit in on an edit session just weeks before the film's release. Anthony, that's so cool. Good morning to you.
It was pretty cool, Gayle. Good morning. Gina Prince-Bythewood is often cited as an inspiration for a new generation of black female creators like Ava DuVernay and Issa Rae. The Woman King's already generating Oscar buzz, but she was working right down to the wire to finish the film.
Naninska, the Woman King.
After shooting her epic action film, The Woman King, over 63 days in South Africa, director Gina Prince-Bythewood was back in L.A. in late August, screening footage with editor Terry Shropshire.
Why don't I show you what we have?
Putting together the director's extended cut.
So this is how the dance starts.
I think a lot of people would be surprised that here we are, 2.5 weeks from the premiere, and you're still working on this?
I'm still working. Everyone keeps looking at each other like, how's this happening?
A storyboard in the edit room lays out every scene in the film.
When you look at this, it doesn't seem like a huge thing.
Yeah.
And so that's really helpful in the early stages when you're kind of
overwhelmed.
Yes, overwhelmed is a good word.
The film's consumed a year and a half of her life. Based on true events, The Woman King is the story of the Agoji, an all-female unit of warriors who protected the kingdom of Dahomey.
I think so many of us have an image of what Africa was like in the 1800s, and it wasn't this. This was the only kingdom in Africa where women had a voice in the government.
It's only the 6th film for the 53-year-old director.
It seems to me you've chosen the films that you've made very carefully. Mm-hmm. Why'd you pick this one?
As soon as I read maybe 5 pages, it was a guttural connection. I had never heard about these women before. Mm-hmm. And I think about what I needed as a young black girl growing up, as a young girl growing up.
Growing up in California, Prince-Bythewood was a basketball star in high school, a track star in college, and an avid reader.
You said once, I think, that the reason you liked stories was you could control the ending?
Yeah, there was just growing up, I needed something to take my mind off of negative things in my life, and that's why I love books so much, to disappear into that.
Prince-Bythewood was adopted and raised in a predominantly white neighborhood. She struggled with self-esteem and racism in school. I was always reminded, she said, of my otherness.
And then when I started writing it, it really was, wow, I can write a happy ending. And there's a great power in that.
She was accepted at UCLA, but not into the program she dreamed about.
Initially, you were rejected from the film school.
Every time I hear that, it's like...
What, do you relive the pain, or what?
It literally, there's like 3 horrible moments in my life, and getting that rejection letter was one of them. It was devastating.
Felt like your life ended.
It's like, what am I supposed to do now?
She made an impassioned appeal to the head of the school, and they reversed their decision.
And that changed my life.
On graduating in 1991, she landed a writing job on the TV series A Different World, where she met her husband, Reggie Rock Bythewood, but later quit TV to write her first screenplay.
You spent a year and a half?
Year and a half.
On Love and Basketball.
Yes.
And nobody wanted it.
It was crickets.
I'll play you.
Rejected by every studio.
1 game, 1-on-1.
For what?
Your heart.
Until Sundance stepped in. In 2000, her directorial debut, Love and Basketball, was finally released. A romantic comedy she'd envisioned as a black When Harry Met Sally.
Double or nothing.
How does it feel all these years later with that movie now viewed by many as a classic?
It never gets old when somebody comes up and says that they love that film.
See right there, Lily? That's the queen.
She'd follow it with The Secret Life of Bees.
My job is stressful enough. I don't need this in my personal life.
Beyond the Lights. And The Old Guard, the first comic-based blockbuster to be directed by a black woman.
How would you describe yourself as a director?
Wow.
Bernie Mac called you the quiet storm.
That was cool. Actually, someone used an example on this film. They said it's like a duck, where on the surface I'm this,
Yeah.
but underneath the water they know, like, feet are doing that.
You have the ability to actually change the way people see.
Yeah. My body of work, 100%, is about changing the narrative of black women.
We are the homie! In The Woman King, General Naniska, played by Viola Davis, is a machete-wielding badass.
This is the actual prop from the film?
This is it. This is Naniska's second machete.
She keeps it in her office.
If you're going to have a souvenir, this is the one to have?
That was the first thing I asked for.
The fight scenes are very elaborately choreographed. How hard is that to do?
You want it to be choreographed so no one gets hurt, but you want them to also have the freedom to improvise a little bit. You want to be able to be there and capture those magical moments.
The cast trained on weights, weapons, and in the martial arts.
This narrative that people still have that women are not warriors, that are not fighters, that are not strong. If they were on this set, it would blow their minds how tough these women were.
The director herself trained with them.
One last thought. How has being an athlete affected your attitude towards all this, do you think?
That athlete mentality drives the way I direct. Directing takes incredible stamina,
Yeah.
which is what you learn as an athlete. It takes incredible fight,
Yeah.
incredible belief in yourself. Yeah, being an athlete has been everything.
Yeah, I think
Anthony.
persistence is a big part of that, too. It's so interesting,
Wow.
that aspect. And, you know, she gave up basketball scholarships to apply to UCLA because she wanted to get in the film school ultimately, and, of course, was rejected. And you saw how devastating that was.
How did she word the letter to appeal and get herself
That's
back
what
in?
I want to know.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. And she doesn't have the letter anymore. She said she wished she did. But she basically wrote and said, "You've made a mistake. I was meant to do this. I have a story to tell, and no one else is telling it."
I've admired her.
And she was absolutely right, by the way.
I have admired her for so many years, but to see that interview with her in its totality, how smart she is,
Yes.
how talented she is, how persistent she is, it just makes you think she is in a different category, Gina is.
And Anthony, you tapped
I loved
into some of the things that she struggled with as a child
Yeah.
is what motivates
Yeah.
her as a director right now.
Yeah. And you see it all come out in her films.
And the movie is good.
Yeah, the movie's really
The movie
good.
is good. I didn't know that she had trained too.
That was
Yes,
great.
and that needs.
Yeah, that she had a
Not a lot of
guttural
directors would do that.
connection. No,
Yeah,
it's
she's
awesome.
in it. All right,
That was
Anthony,
great.
thank you very much. It's a great piece.